Join the Wide Whale team May 29th at 3 p.m. Eastern for part 2 of our 3-part virtual event series, Voice of the Resident. For part 2, we will look specifically at residency. Using AI topic analysis, we've analyzed the free text of 400,000 Google reviews from residents of hundreds of top multifamily groups, including the NMHC Top 50, to identify how often 50 key topics are mentioned by residents. By filtering for and analyzing the topics by life cycle stage, we can isolate which topics are more influential during residency, versus tour, or renewal. Go to widewhale.com/data to sign up or find it in the revised community. That's widewhale.com/data.
Hi, welcome. You're listening to the Unconventional Project, and I'm your host, Vanessa Grayson. Today, I am so excited because I have a very special guest joining me for a topic that I am so deeply passionate about, or a couple topics, I should say. So I am super excited to welcome such an amazing person to sit with me today. But first and foremost, before I dive into all things, you all have to understand that when I say an incredible person, meeting her initially, it was really hard for me to understand that a person could be so nice and genuine and caring and really mean that, because I'm the type of person who is typically not warm and fuzzy, but she absolutely encourages me and challenges me to do better and to be better on a daily basis. So outside of that, she is going on 9 years or wrapping up 9 years in the multifamily industry. She is a 2-time AAKC Apartment Manager of the Year. She's also completed her CAM designation, the Lyceum program, and the LEAD program through AAKC as well. So I'm really excited to take an opportunity to embrace the unconventional with Dominique Pierce. So welcome, Dominique.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and your words. Oh, you like had a little tear going on in my eye. I truly echo the same thoughts, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to talk through these subjects with you.
I'm thrilled as well. So thank you for the time. But I gave the introduction, right? But you know yourself best. So I want you to go ahead and share with everyone who you are, what you do, what things are most important to you. We want to hear all about it.
Sure. So as Vanessa said, I am wrapping up my 9th year in the apartment industry, and I actually started in leasing. I did that just for 1 year. I still say I would love to go back to leasing all day long. I love leasing. But then I was an assistant manager, and I have spent the past 4 years, almost 5, serving my teams. I actually had a unique opportunity where I did a brief stint in HR for a year. And that was really cool for me and actually led into some of the things that we're going to discuss today, because it really allowed me a different lens to be the onboarding and employee engagement manager, just to see where the employees, excuse me, were really thriving and what was so important to them, and just let me have an opportunity to learn just really how to engage with my teams after that experience. So that is what I'm extremely passionate about. I love growing my teams, developing. I love doing mindset work, all of that. So I'm really excited to take a deep dive with you today on that.
Fantastic. So I want to understand the HR stint, because this is something that you and I have talked about quite a bit in depth. And so being in that HR role to now being back over into leading a team, what are some of the things that you've experienced in that role, or like what was transferable as you came back over into the leadership position?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say something that I really learned to do better. And I think we all try to do this on a daily basis, but the reality is it is hard, but really actively listening to my employees. And not only just actively listening when they are talking about maybe concerns that they have, but also listening to their goals and what drives them. Because I think that's something where we know the goals for a community or for the ownership or for our residents, right? But when we're asking them to do these tasks, what are they going to actually thrive in, and not just making it so specifically role based. You can have a leasing professional that thrives in spreadsheets, or you can have a maintenance technician who loves customer service and wants to assist in that manner. And so I think it really has helped me to look at my employees and really understand them on a deeper level, and then how to provide their resources and guidance to move them forward in whatever does drive them.
Yeah. I think that's huge because something that's so important is we're dealing with so many different personality types, so
Mm-hmm.
many different methods of learning, so many different methods of how they receive communication and how they like to be communicated to in general. So I think it poses these challenges. And again, it's
Mm-hmm.
another conversation that we had, but what would you say is like your best method for working through like maybe some generational leadership woes, or just
Mm-hmm.
kind of breaking up complacency and monotony in those who have a mindset like we've always done it this way, so we always have to do it this way? I feel like that's what I hear the most all the time.
Yes. And I definitely have had a lot of experience with that. I tend to be one that will go into a community that's either potentially struggling to hit the goals, or maybe the team is struggling to find their synergy. And so, what I have really found is to take a step back and be quiet and watch first to see kind of maybe where some things aren't working and then what is working, and watch how everyone's minds work as well in that process. And then kind of being able to step in and assist them in breaking the mold, right? I think that whole, we've always done it this way, or this has been, the experience so far. And I always am like, okay, that's fine. But you're bringing a problem to me that it sounds like has been a problem. So, how are we going to find a solution? How are we going to move
Mhm.
forward in this versus being okay with how it's been done? If it's not working, it's not working. Let's fix it. Let's
For
find a
sure.
way to change this moving forward.
For sure. And I think you very much, I've kind of seen you go to work both from a distance and then within the same companies. And I would definitely say you're a person who approaches things head on, which
Mhm.
needs to be done. But,
Mhm.
sometimes we can be viewed as the bad guy when we do it. And it
Yeah.
kind of comes with the territory.
Mhm.
So those challengers are hard, but I think you're embracing it really well. So that's
Thank you.
I love that you have the mindset that you have. Like you're bringing me a problem, but like at what point do we just take a moment and like let's reach a resolution? Otherwise
Yes.
it's always going to be the same. You get the same results when you do what you've always done.
Yeah. And there's something someone told me a while back that was really impactful for me when thinking through that process. They said a lot of times employees bring, they call it a monkey, like a problem, and put it on your desk. And so when you have employees all day filtering into your office and saying, oh, here's a problem, here's a
Hmm.
problem, here's something that I think we should do, here's a new project, then you have a zoo on your
Hmm.
desk. And so the way to really empower people and be able to delegate and give them some growth opportunities as well is to give them that monkey back and say, okay, let's go find the solution. Let me know how I can support you in this and what you need from me to propel this forward. And
Yeah.
hearing that was extremely impactful with how I lead my teams.
Yeah. Have you ever come across the instance where you give that monkey back and there's pushback, or you're met with kind of discernment or concern that they're now being kind of pushed and elevated? Like, what are some of the ways that you combat that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it can go both ways. So I think that I will tend to see those that are excited about that and haven't been given that opportunity before. It lights a fire under them. And then you
Mhm.
see the wheels start to churn and they're like, "Oh, I can do this. I'm allowed to do this." And then they typically come back with something where at minimum it's a baseline and a foundation that we can start from. And that's when I can pour some maybe historical knowledge or expertise into that. whatever they were working on and help them. But sometimes you see them just flourish with something incredible that you wouldn't have gotten yourself, you
Right.
know? Now, when it comes to the opposite end of that, where there is that really large amount of pushback, I think at first I let them think it through, because 9 times out of 10, they leave and come back and want to have a discussion about it. And then I hear the vulnerability come out,
Mm-hmm.
why the pushback was there. And then I can work through that with them from that point, which is very helpful. In that initial conversation, I'll try to dig for that a little bit too sometimes and see if we can pull anything. But I will at some point end up having a conversation too, just more of a, hey, can we sit down and talk through this? I really want to understand your perspective and see where we can meet in the middle here and
Right.
maybe achieve the goal while also respecting any boundary you might have or thought process. And honestly, that has been so successful in any pushback that I've gotten, because at the end of the day, going back to active listening, they want to be heard. And typically, when you're able to talk through that with them and then lend to their perspective, we end up bridging the gap along the way. And then it ends up being something that they can grow or develop from.
100%. I think it's the little extra nudge, right? Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
know what you don't know until you have the right leader in place, kind of
Mm-hmm.
challenging the potential that we know you have, and
Mm-hmm.
that we can see. Sometimes it just takes another person to pull it out from you. But
Absolutely.
just listening to you talk, I feel like you've probably been in that team member's seat,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to someone recognizing or maybe even undervaluing, not valuing your potential as much as you believe that you had in yourself. So it sounds like you're talking from experience. So I want to dive into that a little bit too.
Sure.
And I want to understand, like, where does this different perspective come from? Because you have bosses and then you have leaders, and you very much
Mhm.
give me leader. I've seen you be a leader. So I want to understand where that comes from.
Yeah, I I love that you say the word undervalued, because that is very unfortunately a seat that I have been in the past, and I think it has impacted me a lot because transparently I have reached kind of the peak of where I'm at several times before. And then I get there and I'm ready for that next step. And then I'm told, oh, I don't think you're ready. Or I just don't know if I see this for you quite yet. And that's always been something that I can't even wrap my mind around, because I think that unless someone's given an opportunity, how do you know?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know someone's capabilities or readiness for something they've never stepped into before? And so I think I use that perspective from my past where I was told I'm, quote, not ready for something that I felt like I was ready for. And I try to use that for the individuals around me and say, okay, wait, no, you tell me, what are you ready for? And also, you have to prove to me capacity wise that you can take this on, you
Right.
know? And that's something in my like previous lives that I have experienced where I'm told I'm not ready while in the midst of taking on additional tasks and stepping up to the plate, asking for more responsibility. And when it's still met with resistance, it's so confusing to
Mm-hmm.
me. And so I really try to give my teams the opportunity to tell me and then show me what they're ready for themselves.
Yeah. It's a give and take, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I will give you as much as you can show me that you're ready to do, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the takeaway from what I give you, I need productivity, I need results, I need that fire lit within yourself. I need you to be on some grit and some grind, and
Mm-hmm.
like I need you to take what I'm giving you and do something with it instead of just
Yes.
sitting on it. But no,
Yes.
I love that you're being so vulnerable and sharing that, because I think we have very similar journeys in this. Not necessarily that I can say that I've reached a peak, but I've been told no more times than I've ever been told yes. And just kind of working to create a pathway that's my own, which is even why we're sitting here today.
Mm-hmm.
um, just to kind of do things a little bit differently, not because I wanted to, not because I didn't want to follow the rules or I didn't want to comply with, the opportunities or the people that were around me. It's that I was pushed to kind of keep that one foot out the box at all times because I had to. I was receiving no so many times and I just kind of knew what I was capable of and had to switch some things up. But
Mm-hmm.
I think something that we can both speak to is just kind of being unapologetically ourselves and being very authentic and very real in what we do. And I mean, right before we got on this call, you text me and you were like, I'm trying to find a top. And I'm like, girl, I'm in a t-shirt. I just came from my son's basketball game. So the world is going to get me in a mentality t-shirt supporting my son because that's the reality of my life. And it was just really important to me to come to this being holistically who I am and not wanting to throw on a top and a blazer because that's what I felt like I needed to do because I didn't. So I want to hear from you, like, what are some ways that you stay grounded and remaining true to who you are as you navigate this industry? Because quite honestly, we are still very much in an era in this industry, I think in all aspects, from my experience at the national level to what we do at a local level, to where the mindset is still very much we're going to do things the way we've always done them because they've been successful. But what are some ways you stay grounded in being yourself and not complying to kind of the norms, but also still getting done what needs to be done?
Yeah. Oh, I love this topic. I think it can sometimes be actually met with so much resistance. And it causes, or in my past, it's caused so much turmoil almost. Because I have never been one. I'm quietly direct. I
You're spicy. You are spicy when you need to be spicy,
Yes.
but you almost don't know because it's like, wait a minute, like did that just happen?
Guilty. It's like you know me. Yes, I definitely think that this has been a challenge that I've faced several times before because I am one to speak my mind and I'm not going to ever change my morals or my values at the request of someone externally. And that does cause pushback sometimes. Specifically, it can come, unfortunately, from leadership, which has been something I've had to work through. And I think it kind of landed me exactly where I'm at right now. I'm having the opportunity right now to work for a leader who allows me to be intuitively myself and also lead from a very authentic place. He gives me that platform and empowers me and takes a very hands-off approach, which I've just historically not typically been used to. Just that autonomy, like, hey, I'm going to watch you do this. If you need me, I've got you. But this is your ship to lead. And I'm going to trust you. I hired you for a reason. And that alone right now is allowing me to lead from a whole different way than I have several times in the past, because there is no walking on eggshells. It's just I am able to be completely myself and offer that to the people around me, both peers and my team that's in front of me. And it's caused, even my nervous system is more regulated than it's been in a really long time. I just feel like I can live in pure alignment from that perspective. And so just coming back home to myself and knowing, like, when you ask, like, what do I do to stay grounded? Gut checks. My favorite thing to do is ask the question directly if I'm wondering something, and to those around me too. Okay, which option feels right? Pick it. If that just felt bad, that's not your choice. If it felt like a sigh of relief, there you go.
Right. 100%. I was choking back tears. I we very much share the same sentiment, and I've shared some kind of some of my internal struggles and thoughts with you, having taken a leap, because we now share the same leader.
Yay.
So I'm just gonna plug him, but if you have not met, talked to, connected, had a drink with, or just even seen him in passing, or heard his laugh down the hall, you were missing out on everything amazing that Ricky McRoy is. And he's to come, so you guys will absolutely get an episode from him. But I think it's very important that when you find solid leadership, that you for sure give them their flowers, because we 100% share the same sentiment at the feeling that it is to feel like you are valued and you are seen, you are heard, you're appreciated, and he has to do nothing but let you be. And I tell him all the time, whenever he goes to give his team back flowers, I'm like, we get to be because you allow us to be. And that's ultimately what it is. And then it projects down. It is literally from the top down. The night and day difference. I just finished telling my team, this is probably the first time in several years that, I've done the platforms on the national level. I've done the things at the local level and received the accolades. But this is the first time I can look at a team in whole and say, I am honestly here for you and what you guys want to do, whatever it is you want to do, whatever class you want to take, whatever journey you want to trot down, whatever goal that you have, I'm here for that, versus the recognition of myself, which in my very early years, I tell everyone all the time, I was running a small dictatorship, and I owe some people an apology, and I have gotten to connect with some people in the past, but honestly, you mirror what you have at the time. And it's very hard to break the mold of just thinking of leadership from a different perspective when you're so accustomed to what you're receiving yourself as someone's subordinate. So we're just here to give flowers to an incredible human being. So I love that. And I love that you're getting to experience that. And I think that's absolutely tremendous. But the adverse of that is having leadership that is not as open-minded, or leadership that, being self-aware. I wasn't a great leader. And there's a few people that will absolutely tell you that, and that's fine. How do we navigate not being the leader for everyone? What are our workarounds? And then in the same breath, how are we as subordinates to leadership that is not as open-minded or understanding to new thoughts, or just hearing what you have to say?
Join the Wide Whale team May 29th at 3 p.m. Eastern for part 2 of our 3-part virtual event series, Voice of the Resident. For part 2, we will look specifically at residency. Using AI topic analysis, we've analyzed the free text of 400,000 Google reviews from residents of hundreds of top multifamily groups, including the NMHC Top 50, to identify how often 50 key topics are mentioned by residents. By filtering for and analyzing the topics by life cycle stage, we can isolate which topics are more influential during residency, versus tour, or renewal. Go to widewhale.com/data to sign up, or find it in the revised community. That's widewhale.com/data.
Yeah. I think from the first piece of that, I think I'm finally at an age where that I know I'm not for everybody. I want to be. I'm not. Well, maybe I don't want to be. Never mind. Maybe I don't want to be for everybody. But
We shouldn't want to be.
There are people I wish I could be for that I simply cannot. And I have come across that. And I think where I stayed rooted, being authentic to myself while also trying to support them as their leader, was just to ensure that I remained extremely consistent in how I led the team, and that person alike, and making sure that they felt heard, that I was providing them all of the resources, even pairing them up maybe with other leaders or team members that could just speak their language a little bit easier than I can. That's been really helpful, is finding a connector versus me if what I'm saying isn't translating.
Right.
You know? Now when it comes to leadership, anyone listening at a local level for AAKC knows that I have been with quite a few management companies. I have popped around quite a bit over my tenure. But something really important to me is being in an environment where there is the openness to change and growth, and where my morals and values align. And if they don't, I think life's a little too short to sit in a space that you feel unwelcomed in and you feel unheard in or not valued. And I just don't see the point of sitting in that space. So I will work hard, and I will remain, making sure that I am helping to hit those goals. But it definitely is where my passion stops, is in a environment that isn't open to change or open to receiving feedback or breaking that mold.
Life's too short to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or in a space where there's a saying, like, go where you're valued, not where you're tolerated.
Yes.
And I feel like that is absolutely this.
Yeah.
I think people in this industry will tolerate you because you're good at your job. They may not like what you have to say or like how you do things, but they will tolerate you because you impact the bottom line so positively. But like us as individuals, it's like, okay, that's cool. And then what? Like, I go home at night and I'm stressed, but my business's bottom line is positively impacted. I'm stressed. I'm burnt out. in our case, we're both mothers. Like, we may bring a little bit of that home to our children or our households. The people around us, we're not able to authentically and genuinely spend time with them because, like, girl, guess what happened at work? Like, and so 100% there, I don't think that, I actually had one of my mentors, Marcy French. We talked about this, in regards to, moving around to different companies. And we had a conversation where it was almost just like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? We're young enough to do it. We have results to back any time period that we've spent at any company. And so, yes, some people can read it as inconsistencies. But what I can do is show you what I did while I was there, but also showed you that each time that I left, I got better and better.
Yes.
I was taking all the resources and tools, the knowledge, the insight that I gained, and I was continuing to apply it to no matter what I went to. It just doesn't matter anymore. You deserve to be in a place where you're comfortable and you feel good about what you do.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing it right for what it's worth. You're doing a great job. But I think no matter what we do, no matter what new journey we go on, I think we're very, very similar in the same that we run across imposter syndrome every day we wake up.
Oof. Hit me where it hurt.
Listen, it got me in the chest just saying it, because I talk about it all the time. I've talked about it to you, like, even just with this project and like what the table that we're sitting at right now, like how I feel like I know what I want to do. I see the vision, and it's just like, I can't do it. I'm not qualified for whatever reason that it is. So I want to dive into that with you.
Yes,
because it's not something that I openly talk about. I think everyone's very so quick to go take a glance at my LinkedIn page and be like, oh, she's got it. And what people fail to realize is like sometimes I get home and I sit in my car in my garage for 15 minutes and I just contemplate like, what the hell what am I doing? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
are my goals in life? Where am I going? And I have not a freaking clue.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to hear from you because that's a big one I think in our generation. I also think that's a big one in the multifamily industry in general.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing to work through that? Because I know you have it.
I know, I do very badly. I have been so blessed to have really incredible people around me that build me up and remind me of who I am on a regular basis. Even when you asked me to be on this, for a moment, I was like, are you sure? Me?
Oh.
And, but then hearing, like your introduction and you speak about me, I'm like, wait, that is me. Why do I not always feel that about myself? And I've been in these weird moments where, and it always happens right when I need to hear it, where I'll be minding my business and someone will stop me and pull me aside and say, hey, I saw what you posted, or I listened to your video, and I needed to hear it right then, exactly when you said it. And I needed to see you lead by example in that capacity because I didn't feel confident or I didn't see my own value. And those always bring me back home so quickly. So I really try to tap into that and remind myself that I do have enough of a platform to be able to impact people positively or negatively and choose what to do with that. And
Mhm.
so I do have to kind of stay in that mindset of making sure that in empowering myself, I'm also empowering others. And I'm so driven with helping others and making sure they feel supported and they feel good enough. And so I have to do quite a bit of reminding myself that I am also good enough and that I am absolutely um, doing what I need to do and doing it well. But I do,
Yeah.
it is hard. It is hard to overcome sometimes.
Yeah. So, I think something that really stands out for me is I feel like you're motivated by people returning that positive energy back to you.
Mhm.
And but I like to play devil's advocate because we've
Yeah.
both heard it. And what are we doing with the things that aren't as positive? And how are we stopping that from feeding into our imposter syndrome? Like more specifically, going back to what you said earlier, just people telling you like, I don't think you're ready.
Yeah.
And then you pair that with our own self-doubt and it's like the perfect storm. Like, what are we doing for that? Because I don't feel like we talk about it enough. And I think
Hmm.
there is a perception that I think there's a perception with accolades, which is
Hmm.
um, you know, it's kind of unfortunate, but accolades are not who we are
Right.
allowed us to receive those accolades. But it comes with a lot of things going on in the background. So I would love to kind of get your thoughts on, when those comments are not so positive and what you're doing to allow yourself some grace during those periods.
Yeah. I think there's two things I focus on in those moments. The first one is being very aware of who that is coming from. Um, like I mentioned earlier, I do sometimes care about people's perception and how they feel about me. And so I can let it hit home pretty quickly.
Hmm.
But then I have to take a look at it. And if they aren't where I want to be, then why am I letting it bother me? You know, um, if what I see from them isn't always positive, then why am I letting it bother me? Or seeing where they might be at personally, professionally, mentally, and making sure that it's coming from a place of care or if it's coming from a place to make me feel small.
Right.
And right when I feel like it's coming from a place of making me feel small, I can process through that pretty quickly and just realize that I can't even let that touch me. Um,
Hmm.
Now, things that I enjoy doing that actually give me like quick results are typically when I'm sitting with my team and able to, whether it's a team meeting or a team huddle, and or just even like after a tour, listening to my leasing team give feedback or my maintenance team tell me how well they did and how happy a resident is, and seeing all these little leaders that are developing under my leadership, I very quickly am able to get back into my confidence and feel really good about where I'm at pretty quickly.
Yeah, 100%. It's easy to look at other people, not to take credit for who they are, what they're doing, but to have just understanding and clarity that you're making impact.
Yep.
We don't want credit for it.
No.
We just like the feeling of understanding, like, okay, what I'm doing is working for someone.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's just one person, the hope
Mm-hmm.
is more, right? But
Yeah.
one will hopefully then positively impact the next,
Yeah.
or the next two or three. And to be able to know that some of that came from you is honestly probably one of the most incredible feelings as a leader.
Truly.
Just, it's the fruits of your labor.
Mm-hmm. It
It's
is.
the feel good moment.
It really
So,
is.
as we kind of look to wrap this up, I think something that I want to hear from you is just what piece of advice would you have given yourself when you first started in this industry? Like, we're both in that 9, almost 10-year mark. I just told someone I was in the 10-year mark, and he's like, you're not the incoming generation anymore. And I was just like, wait a minute. Like,
Whoa.
it was a harsh reality to be like, oh, wow, like I am like approaching double digits in this. And I get all the time. I actually just recently had someone share a text with me right after Crystal Merit, and they made comment on what my body language was like after our team received an award, and was able to talk through what a mess I was at 21 and just like share my growth. And it was actually funny because that same week I had ended up just kind of doing like a journal prompt of like what's one thing I would tell my younger self. So to spin that, like, what would you tell young Dominique coming into this industry, looking at where you started and where you are now?
Yeah. I think not to worry so much about what everyone else thinks,
Mm-hmm.
and not to take myself too seriously to where it does impact and cause that stress, and just to be very authentically myself, and that marching to the beat of my own drum is okay. And it actually will get me further in the long run instead of holding me back when I'm in the right environment with the right people.
Mm-hmm. Your environment matters. I
So
say this
much.
all the time, like, you're always exactly where you're supposed to be. It's
Mm-hmm.
funny because there's a group of us, and we were all telling each other like what we say the most, and they're like, you always say that. But
Mm-hmm.
I always say it because it's proven true for me, like time after time after time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no matter what you believe in, or all of that aside, I firmly believe like your environment matters. But whether you're supposed to thrive in that environment or fall short in
Mm-hmm.
that environment, to take something away from it as you look to jump to the next one, like, you truly are exactly where you're supposed to be. But I love that you have brought this so full circle to me, that you would share with yourself that it's okay to like be yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's a hard concept to grasp for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't truly take the time to understand who they are as an individual before they try to go out and supplement other people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even really know what you're bringing to their table.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, everyone go out and learn who you are as an individual.
Yes. Please.
It's only funny because I'm laughing at myself, because I can truly say, like, up until maybe 3 years ago, I had no idea who I was. Like,
Yeah.
as a mother, as just an individual, or as a team member, I had no idea what I was doing, where I was going, other than I felt like things were working, but I wasn't allowed to be like who I was in the process. So everyone
Mhm.
had this general idea of who they thought I was, but
Yeah.
behind closed doors, like I'm a whole turtle in a turtle shell. Like I don't enjoy being an extrovert. I'm actually like very much a preferred introvert. It
Mhm.
takes me time to get comfortable. I don't like speaking in front of people, but somehow, some way, like I figure it out and I turn it on when I have to. Like
Yeah.
it's so interesting. But
Mhm.
any last words, anything else you want to say or share to anyone who's listening today? I want you to kind of be the end all be all for all that you've shared with us today.
Yeah, well, thank you again for this opportunity. This has been truly such a pleasure to talk through these things with you. I do very much appreciate the fact that I'm able to lean on you and have you challenge me as well in so many things in life and in our careers. Um, but I think what I would love to leave everyone with is just that if you if this is your career and you have that passion and that fire, don't be shy about it. Just really go for it. Don't let anybody tell you you're not ready. Seek out the resources, seek out the mentors, the individuals. Keep listening to podcasts like this. Just really be a sponge and absorb. And I promise you, as we mentioned, when you are in the right environment, you are going to be able, like, there will be no ceiling or any limit. You will be able to thrive. And this is the perfect industry to do so.
I'm so proud of you for everything. It's been an absolute pleasure. Whether we were super close in the beginning of this 9-year journey or not, I always knew your name. I knew of you. At some point, we connected.
Yes.
And then now we've had the opportunity to work at a couple different companies together. I just need you to know that I am so proud of you for everything that you do, not only in the workplace, but being a mother to your son and all of the challenges and adversity that you face outside of that. You carry it so well.
Thank you.
And even when it gets heavy, you're not scared to put it down, and that's something that I admire so much
Thank
about you.
you.
So I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me. It means the absolute world. You have no idea. And just all your genuine support and encouragement that you've given me along the way as well. So
Always. Thank you. Thank you for
well,
having me.
of course. Well, to everyone out there listening, you have been listening to the Unconventional Project. Again, I'm your host, Vanessa Grayson. Once again, thank you, Dominique, for being here and embracing the unconventional with me. Until next time.